Hey 12, it's the Seahawks Squad. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
Well, the Seahawks lose week 1 of the NFL season in 2025 to the San Francisco 49ers, 17-13. In a defensive battle most of the game. Offenses honestly were able to move the ball, but a couple key turnovers on both sides kind of kept this, a little bit lower scoring than I think it really indicated, to be completely honest. But at the end of the game, the Niners were the team to make plays, and the Seahawks were the team to kind of not make plays, to be very nice to put it. This is your Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang with you. We go live after every single Seahawks game. We usually have Robert Turbin with us. He is unable to make the episode today. I want to just open it up for you two. What's the biggest reason the Seahawks lost this game? Christopher Crawford, you go first.
Boy, oh boy. That's a great first question, my friend. Ultimately, you just didn't do enough offensively. You just didn't do enough to finish off drives. I thought there was a lack of urgency on a couple of drives that really frustrated me, in particular, settling for that field goal. But you can't score one touchdown and win very often in the NFL. It's just not going to happen very often. And, there's some good takeaways from this game. There are going to be some things that you can say, hey, there's some positivity that you can take from it, but there's a lot of negativity you can take from it too. And ultimately, to me, the main reason the Seattle Seahawks don't win, and maybe it's an obvious point, is obvious thing. You score 13 points in a National Football League game. You're not going to win very often doing that, no matter how good your defense is.
Rob, what's the biggest reason the Seahawks lost this game?
Well, a couple of things, guys, that immediately jump out to me. I think that from the loss, I hate to kind of talk about a defensive player when it feels like Seattle's shortcoming in this game was on the offensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. But I thought that the loss of Nick Eamon-Warry early on kind of completely changed the game for the Seahawks from a defensive standpoint. Now, Seattle was aided by the fact that the 49ers also suffered a significant loss with George Kittle going down. But at the same time, I do think that changed things. When the George Kittle touchdown, for example, it was Tariq who was in coverage on that particular play. Tariq, it felt like, to me at least, was on the outside looking in late in the preseason before he made a couple of splash plays, wound up making himself on this roster. But I think if you had said that he would have been on the field, in the first quarter of the opening game of the season, then that would have surprised some people. And then, as Chris just mentioned, I mean, you can't score one touchdown in an NFL game, even when you're at home, and expect to win very often. So I'll kind of flip it back here to the offensive side of the ball. I know lots of people are going to be critical of Sam Darnold. I think if you look at his statistics, then it's lots of reasons to be critical of him, especially when you consider the way that Geno Smith helped the Las Vegas Raiders win a football game, had better statistics. At the same time, I also thought that the fact that Seattle didn't have basically anybody other than Jackson Smith and Jigba actually catch a pass and do anything with it all game long. To me, Seattle felt like they were basically very one-dimensional, at least when it came to the passing game. And again, I think that if that's the way that you're going to try to play a football game, even with a decent running game, then you're not going to be very successful.
Yeah, it seemed to me that a lot of the issues that a lot of Seahawks fans, or at least realistic ones, came into the season, what's Sam Darnold going to look like? What kind of weapons is he going to look at? Without DK Metcalf, it seems like it's kind of JSN and nobody else. I know you have Cooper Kupp. It's going to be tough for Cooper to make an impact when you don't have an over-the-top receiver. Torrey Horton was nowhere to be seen today. Yeah. These are issues that you kind of expected to happen. Not expected. It was predictable, I guess I should say. And the offensive line, I will say, did look improved. You were able to move the ball relatively well. Sam Darnold didn't look under duress by any stretch of the imagination for most of the game. your running game wasn't great, considering that's kind of what you stamp your offense on. And I think that, will set up the rest of the offense moving forward. Ken Walker, 10 carries and 20 yards just is not going to get it done, Rob Reddy.
No, it's certainly not. And that's the thing, is that we've had this conversation all throughout the preseason, is that like with Kenneth Walker III not getting onto the field throughout the preseason, Zach Charbonnet kind of dominating the carries, George Helani also getting a lot of those, Shakardia, right? It was that was one of the real question marks, was that is Kenneth Walker III going to be able to quite literally hit the ground running, and his explosiveness, you could see it. There were flashes of that initial burst that has scouts so excited about him. But it was Zach Charbonnet who had Seattle's touchdown. It was Zach Charbonnet who had the bulk of the carries that actually were productive, when he would lower his shoulder and be able to generate some yardage after contact. He feels like the running back who is actually a better fit in this offense, not only from a style perspective, but just from a mentality perspective. So yeah, I love the fact that you just kind of threw out Kenneth Walker III's numbers there, because I do think that this is, if we were in a court case, this would be, the state's evidence, number one, that the Kenneth Walker III and all of that explosiveness on tape, it doesn't actually translate to success, at least not in week 1 of the NFL season.
Chris, what were if you want to follow up on that, go ahead. But
sure.
Okay.
No, I was just going to say that's a great point. It's just not good enough. Like, if you're going to be built on this, if you are going to be an offense that is just going to be, and even Zach Charbonnet, like, who was better than Kenneth Walker, far from a dominant effort from him. 12 carries, 47 yards for the 1 touchdown, but certainly did look like the more effective runner. The only thing I was going to say, just real quick, as a positive, because I think there's going to be a lot of negative talk today. I was super pumped up to hear that crowd today. That is the first home crowd that I've heard like that in a long time. And it's going to matter, because the Seahawks have to be dominated at home again. They ended up winning 3 home games last year, 3 of them. That can't happen again. And a lot of that's going to be based on play from the Seahawks. Of course it is. We saw it today, because as good as the crowd is, you still end up losing the game. It was fun to hear a crowd like that in week 1, where you did hear the crowd impact making some noise. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of positive things other than that to say. So I wanted to get that one in there. That good for you, Seahawks crowd, because that was a loud crowd that affected the 49ers offense today.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about, and you saw it on the broadcast, there was a lot of red in that crowd.
Sure. Yes, there was.
But I do think the 12s showed up today.
I do too.
I do agree with you. I give them some credit. I think a lot of it has to do with the first game of the season. There's going to be a lot of traveling fans kind of still on their summer-ish plans, so to speak. I think as the season goes along, you're going to see a lot more Seahawks fans fill up that stadium. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I want to get into Tariq Woolen, because I think a lot of people, we'll see if rightly so, are kind of, I don't want to say blaming him individually, but he's standing out as one of the glaring performances in a bad way today. I think mostly because 2 bad plays on that scoring drive for the 49ers. After the Seahawks do a really good job for most of the first and second half of bottling that offense up, there's 2 big key plays. I forget if it was a 3rd down or not on the long play to Ricky Pearsall. I think it was.
Can't remember.
And Tariq Woolen just kind of looks like he's trying to track the ball in the air and just stops running. And then Pearsall gets behind him for like a 30-yard gain at that point. And then on the touchdown as well, looked like he had it completely covered, and he just gets outbeat by the backup tight end, whose name I don't even remember at this point. So I just want, Rob, I'll start with you. How much, I don't want to say blame, but what's your concern level for the play of Tariq Woolen, who really hasn't been the same player that he was as a rookie a couple years ago?
Well, I think it's Corbin Smith and I often talk about in the Locked On Seahawks podcast is that the expectation level now of this former 5th-round pick, former wide receiver, is now so sky high. And so I think that people are expecting him to play at an all-pro level. I mean, there was an all-pro caliber play. He was beaten by Ricky Pearsall, and you saw every bit of his length. As my cohorts in Fox Sports, Joe Davis and Greg Olson kind of acknowledged on the broadcast. You saw every bit of his length when he was able to tip away a pass. It should have been a touchdown to Ricky Pearsall.
Drive before, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The drive before that, he was out of position. But again, his speed, his length puts him in a position to recover. And yet at the same time, when the Seahawks needed him to make a play, for him to kind of have a ball up in the air, to kind of tap at it and then allow Jake Tongas to be able to make that touchdown to win the game. I mean, obviously that is just a punch to the gut. That ultimately gave the Seahawks a loss. I think that even more so with a player like Tariq Woolen, who again is a 5th-round pick, and as much success as he has had, I also think that sometimes he can be a little bit of a player that gets blamed when the Seahawks struggle. What about Seattle coming back and they bring in, or they reward Abraham Lucas, and he is the one that actually gives up the pressure that gives that knocks the ball out of Sam Darnold's hand in the ultimate game defining play. So again, that's all the more reason why this was a real punch to the gut for the Seahawks fans, because those who have been watching the Seahawks for a long time know that those are two of the young players that Seattle's trying to build around. And for the 49ers to beat two of your best young players, it wasn't like you were beating the Seattle's backups or third stringers, as I mentioned before with Ty Okada. You're beating Seattle's best, and that is why this loss is that much more frustrating.
Chris, what do you think? Comment on Tariq Woolen, how much? Yeah,
I'm glad Rob brought up the fact that he did make that big play, and what happens on that drive too is team misses that field goal. So that was a huge part of that. The whole reason, one of the biggest reasons the Seahawks are in that game is that he does deflect that touchdown away from Pearsall. That doesn't excuse both plays there. The one thing I think Tariq Woolen's athleticism, size, speed, all of that stuff cannot be questioned. And he's done some really good things in the NFL, especially for a 5th round. His instincts just aren't always there sometimes. I joked that he looked like Randy Rosarina on that fly ball, and it wasn't a compliment, right? He misread that ball completely. That's a play that should have been knocked down. And then that touchdown, I would have to watch the replay again. It just looks to me like he was super passive on that.
Yes.
Play.
And that's almost inexcusable, right?
That's the one that's not okay to me. Getting beat because of a misread on a football, it's not great, but you know, it happens. It happens to a lot of really good players. Being passive in that situation, even if you think you aren't going to get that, you got to mollywop homeboy and say, pass interference, let's play one more down, right? That has to happen. You cannot be passive on that play. But there are a lot of individual moments. It's not just on Tariq Woolen. In my humble estimation, Sam Darnold misses on a throw on an up and out on Jackson Smith and Jigba on the last drive of the game that you have to make. You have to make that throw. It's a walk-in touchdown if he makes it. Jackson Smith and Jigba fumbles a football that is just careless ball handling. Careless ball handling. There's some individual stuff here, but there's also no question that context matters and situation matters. So when you make a play like that, I can forgive the 41-yard gain to Pearsall. I cannot forgive the touchdown to end the game because you have to be able to make that play. And it can't be a lack of want. And I'm not in Tariq Woolen's mind. It looked like a lack of want on that play.
Or just maybe it's not. That's one of the explanations. Another explanation is just, I don't know. It's just some guys jump at the opportunity to make a play. Some of them are just there to do their job, right? And it seemed like the latter, which in that situation, you want to be the guy to make the pick to kind of end the game at that point. It would have been Seahawks ball up 3. You've been able to run. You could run the clock out at that point. I don't know. I'm with you, Chris. That's why it's inexcusable to me, is because I was incredibly frustrated to know he got in the position to make the play and he got beat to a ball by a backup tight end, which is just not good enough for me. So
real quick,
yeah.
Do you guys think the 49ers would have gone for it there if that ball goes incomplete? Or do they trust Moody on
They'd probably kick the field goal.
I think they probably kick it too, but it would have been an interesting decision for sure.
Because you're looking at like a 25 to 30 yarder. No, he missed one earlier, but still, I think they kick the field goal and kind of take their chances. I don't know. We're on the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang. I want to get specifically to the Seahawks offense on the other side of this break because I think there's a lot of things to discuss there. Sam Darnold's play. We'll talk about the running game. We'll talk about JSN's fumble, his involvement, and then the rest of the receiver corps just non-existent. And then we'll talk defense following that as well, and then kind of the coaching and everything wrapped in a bow. Here on the Seahawks Squad Show, comment in what you guys think was the biggest issue today. Seahawks lose 17-13 in week 1. Definitely not a season ender, but it felt like one of those games where the Seahawks should have won. You put yourself in a situation where I think for the majority of this game, the Seahawks played better football. Mistakes at key moments kept you from winning this game. So comment in what you guys think is the biggest issue moving forward. How can they address it in the next couple weeks? Here on the Seahawks Squad Show, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some offense. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just make more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. You can go passing yards, you can go rushing yards, you can go wins or losses. There's so many different ways to go about this. It's a great way to build up a parlay without having any of the intricacies of adding in money lines or stuff like that. It's really simple, more or less, for 2 to 6 player projections, and then you can turn your picks into real prices. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang with you. We go live after every single Seahawks game. This is your post-game show here on Locked On Seahawks. Really appreciate all 249 of you hanging out with us. Please like the video if you haven't already. It does a huge, huge help to us. It's the easiest way to support us. If you like what we do, just subscribe and like it, and you're doing everything you can. I really, really appreciate it. We all really appreciate it. Let's talk about the offense. Seahawks lose this one 17-13. Chris, I think, said it perfectly in the first segment there. When you score 13 points, you're not doing enough to win games, especially when you're at home and especially when you're against, to my, kind of evaluation, I don't think the Niners are that good defensively. You should be scoring more points against that team. What went wrong today offensively, Christopher Crawford?
So much. So very, very much. And I think the one positive that I'll take from the offense was really until that very last play, the pass pro was good.
I agree.
Was actually pretty darn solid. Big mistake, as Rob mentioned, on that very last play there. But I thought that they were pretty predictable on offense as well until one series. And boy, I could talk about that one series forever and ever and ever, where you have the most Chuck Knox offense. And those of you who are old enough to remember Chuck Knox, the joke used to be, what did the Seahawks and the Rockettes have in common? 1, 2, 3 kick, 1, 2, 3 kick, 1, 2, 3 kick. It was so predictable. And then I just got to get that series out of my mind. You go wide receiver screen on a play that looked like something you designed in Madden, like roll your quarterback all the way out, throw that ball. Then a really good throw from Darnold that Jackson Smith-Njigba just doesn't make the play on. And then the lateral play, which is still driving me insane, because it'd be one thing if the lateral play didn't just follow the 2 plays ago, the -8. They went from being the most conservative offense ever to looking like end one mixtape. I don't really understand what was going on in that series, but it's ultimately it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. The tight ends didn't do a good enough job getting open for Darnold today. JSN was great. I know the fumble, but like he did show that he can be an outside threat. I think there's no question about it. Like almost all of that damage I saw from him came from him being the outside receiver, either breaking in or staying on that sideline. But man, oh man, just so much predictability, so much 3rd and 7 where you just don't have the type of guys outside of Njigba that are going to get open. This was concerning. It's just one game. It was one really bad offensive effort.
Yeah, before Rob gets in there, I just want to explain the drive that Chris is talking about here. It's 10-10 in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Niners just went 13 plays for 52 yards for a 5-minute drive to tie the game with a field goal. Seahawks get the ball back, go 5 plays for -6 yards, including that attempt at a double pass. And it kind of just solidified the momentum in this game of completely shifting, because I think until that point, the Seahawks defense was dominating. They do a pretty good job of holding San Francisco to 3 points on the previous drive, but then just giving it right back to San Francisco, who, to be fair, throws an interception right after that. Brock Purdy throws another pick into triple coverage. Defense is keeping you in this game. Seahawks go down after that, kick a field goal, and then San Francisco responds with the touchdown. Then you fumble, and then the game's over. But Rob,
real quick, sorry. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up there was you had such a good kick return before that too. Cody White gets you really nice field position, and then I admire some creativity. That was just get too cute by half for 2 out of those 3 plays for those to be that. It felt out of place, and they didn't feel like they were ready for that moment whatsoever.
Yeah, Rob, what was your biggest issue with the offense today? Or if you want to go positive way, you can as well. But how would you evaluate the offensive play today?
Well, I'll throw out a positive as well as some negatives. I thought that it very much felt like Clint Kubiak's first game of calling plays here as the Seattle's offensive coordinator. You know, I, of course, typically get paid to evaluate college players for Fox Sports. And I just am kind of reminded of what I saw with Arch Manning, the Texas quarterback that everybody is proclaiming to be the Heisman Trophy favorite, number 1 overall pick. And then it goes up against Matt Patricia defense in Ohio State. And he just looks like a guy who's playing in his very first road game. Right. There were some plays from Clint Kubiak that I thought were very good. And I'll give you my favorite example of that is that from the very first play of the game, the play action pass and just an absolute strike to Sam Darnold, to Jackson Smith and Jigba, it just felt like the Seahawks were on the attack. Yeah. And I thought that they were recognizing that Robert Saleh, of course, was a former Seahawks defensive coach, former head coach of the New York Jets. They knew that the 49ers are going to be anticipating that Seattle's going to try to run the football. And so they try to take advantage of that. The linebackers sucked up, and so there's going to be a huge hole in the middle. Take full advantage. But as Chris just talked about with the double pass there, that was frustrating. The fact that Jalen Monroe, as excited as I am about Joe snap of the game from an offensive perspective, and then you never see him for the rest of the game, it was almost like, hey, we're going to show you what we can do, and this is fun little off-season kind of creativity play, but then you're not going to stick with it. Yeah. Either you're going to be a team that's going to run the football down teams' throats, or you're not, or you're just going to do the window dressing, talk a good game, but when you really need to do it, are you really actually going to do it? That inconsistency, to me, was one of the most frustrating elements from the Seahawks offensive play calling standpoint.
So, to me, I like what you said. It seemed like his first game of calling a game for the Seattle Seahawks. I'll take it a step further. It seemed like he tried too hard to not be Ryan Grubb. And I realized that a lot of people had a lot of criticism for Ryan Grubb, rightly so, for his probably over-aggression in the passing game. Today, it just seemed like there wasn't enough creativity. It was like, all right, we're going to hand the ball off as much as we can until it doesn't work, and then we're going to try play action later. And then it seemed very predictable in the opposite way for the Seahawks. And I get it. Like, it's conservative. It's your first game. You want to see what Sam Darnold can do. You believe that you can impose your will. We talked so much about intentionality with Robert Turbin of like, hey, we're going to dominate the line of scrimmage. You know what's going to come, but we're still going to do it. When you can't do it, it doesn't work. That's kind of what it seems like today. So I just, yeah, Chris, you look like you want to add to it.
I was just going to say the thing that was interesting too, and Greg Olson brought this up. By the way, Greg Olson is fantastic. I think he is one of the
hard
best.
Disagree.
Oh, well, you're wrong. The Seahawks in their first 15 plays had 7 different formations. It wasn't a case of like where they were like just coming out with the same look over and over again, but the 49ers weren't fooled by anything. There was no like, we don't know what we're going to do here. It didn't matter what formation they were bringing out. And I was curious because I have not seen borderline line changes the way the Seahawks were doing to begin that game, like seeing like 3 wide receivers and an offensive lineman come in and then 2 running backs and 2 offensive linemen coming out. You know, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, they're kind of setting something up. That just never happened. It didn't set anything up and nothing was fooled.
Yeah.
I think Kubiak is the better fit for this Seahawks offense. I have some real doubts about how many points this team is going to score under this offense. And even the way that they're going to play can win you games. I don't think it can take you very far. I know that seems reactionary. Everything I watched today was of an offense that suggests, boy, your defense is going to have to be elite and then some to just get into the show. And then I don't think they have enough to do anything once they get into the show.
Go ahead.
I'll kind of jump in with that because I've got a kind of an analogy for people that I think ties in with what Chris just mentioned. You know, between my wife and I, we have 2 cars. We've got a 1-ton truck and a hybrid car. And we also are fortunate enough to have a boat. And so it's like, it almost feels like regardless of the vehicle that you're driving, I'm still going to try to tow that boat. And so what's the point? And like with the 1-ton truck, sure, that's going to rock and roll, but I hope you have enough gas or enough, money to pay for the fuel for that sucker. At the same time, if you're going to be using that hybrid, sure, you can kind of inch your way down the road, but I hope there's not a hill because otherwise you're in trouble here. And that's what it felt like the Seahawks were at times, is that they're like, okay, we are going to do this. We're just not so sure we're going to be effective in doing this. And that's the thing is like when Seattle, it felt like they were so focused on getting JSN the ball. Cooper Kupp was kind of a superstar in name only. You know, I mean, one of the very few throws that was actually his way dropped, and that was a critical drop. You know, and so that to me was one of the most disappointing elements of this, because I thought that, you know, by kind of pounding the table all out season, that this was going to be one of the biggest concerns for the Seahawks. I thought that they would kind of just recognize, okay, we really need to make sure that we can demonstrate that that we do have more weapons than Jackson Smith and Jigba, whether it be the tight ends, whether it be throwing the ball to the running backs out of the backfield. And we saw Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he caught just about every throw that Brock Purdy threw, it felt like, other than the game ultimate game winner was to Christian McCaffrey. Seattle didn't get their backs involved. They didn't get their tight ends involved, at least not enough. They didn't get any wide receivers involved other than Jackson Smith and Jigba. They were asking that 1-ton truck, so to speak, to basically be able to do everything. And that's just not what it's designed to do.
No.
Yeah, and it is worth pointing out, I'm going to put a caveat on this evaluation of the offensive performance. There's a lot of new pieces in this offense. Sure. You got a new quarterback, new OC, a couple new receivers, a couple new offensive linemen, a new tight end. There's a lot of moving pieces. I wouldn't expect it to look perfect week.
Sure.
And I still think there's a reality in which the Seahawks find their way to be a more effective offense than they were last year. It just didn't look like they didn't hit the ground running as much as I would have expected them in week 1. So I'm not saying that it's like curtains on the season in terms of being a good offensive team. And it's just what happens after week 1. Everyone overreacts to everything. I would have expected more, but I'm by no means putting the nail in the coffin on the Seahawks and this offense at this point in the season just yet. So they need to adjust. That's for sure. And that's something that I do expect them to do. I believe in this coaching staff. It's just also a tough a tough way to lose week one. Like if this is against an AFC team on the road, it's like, okay, fine, whatever. Like you're at home against a division rival who, by the way, is incredibly banged up already.
Oh, God, yeah.
And you still can't find a way to win the game. It's very frustrating as a Seahawks fan. I've been watching Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay out-coach Seahawks coaching for years now. I was expecting a little bit better from the Seahawks offensive staff and Mike McDonald as well. When we get back, I want to ask you guys about Sam Darnold. First game as a Seattle Seahawk. There's obviously a couple negatives. You can look at some positives as well. I'm curious as to where you guys are going to go with this because I honestly have no idea. You can look at it both ways. So we're here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang. We go live right after every single Seahawks game to act as your post-game show here on Locked On Seahawks. Really appreciate you tuning in. Please like the video if you haven't already. When we come back, we're talking Sam Darnold on the Seahawks Squad Show.
Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. Some people may disagree based on today, but let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, it's easy, and it's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I really want to highlight the zone deals because I think this is one of the things that separates Gametime from everybody else. You know, you look through and maybe you have Lumen Field memorized or whatever stadium that you're rocking. If you're going to Levi Stadium, hopefully you don't have to go on the field because you'll probably tear an ACL. But if you're looking for something that is going to be in a certain section, rather than having to scroll through a bunch of stuff, the zone deals make it easy. You pick the section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save big. And speaking of saving big, if you download the Gametime app and create an account, you can use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. I got my shot in with the 49ers. I got a little shot in with my that stadium just sucks. It's such a bad stadium. Such a bad stadium.
Terrible. Almost as bad as Candlestick. Anderson Hirst, Christopher Crawford, Rob Rang with you here on the Seahawks Squad Show. We go live after every single Seahawks football game. Seahawks lose this one 17-13 against the 49ers. Disappointing week one loss against the division rival. It's not the end of the season by any stretch of the imagination, but you could have definitely had a good leg up in the division based on how the Rams look today as well. Cardinals, I'm telling you, they're going to be a surprising team going this year. I really like what they're doing. I've been a huge fan of the way they're trending. Hopefully the Seahawks can kind of bounce back, come back next week. Sam Darnold, first game as a Seattle Seahawk. Of course, you move on from Geno Smith. He actually has a really good game today for the Las Vegas Raiders. They get the win. And Sam Darnold today, I'll just tell you his stat line, and then I want you guys to kind of put it in perspective for me. He's 16 of 23 for 150 yards, 69.6 completion percentage. Nice. 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He does get the fumble in a very key point in the game. Rob, we'll start with you this time. What was your evaluation of Sam Darnold's play today?
Meh. That's the thing. I mean, I wish that I could say that he had the game winner, and that's actually what I thought that this was kind of trending to become. It is, again, I thought that this was a very well played football game by both both teams. They had suffered some significant injuries throughout the game, and I thought that Seattle was in very good position to be able to march their way down the field. I love the throw that Sam Darnold was able to complete with Jackson Smith and Jigba, put them in position to win this football game. I love the decision making to run the ball down the stretch to kind of, it was within a minute of the game to kind of, if you were going to make this game-winning touchdown, then at best San Francisco was going to have a few seconds left to be able to march down the field, perhaps be able to hit a game-tying field goal, but not going to be in position to win the game. I thought that Sam Darnold threw the ball with anticipation, with accuracy. We saw the velocity, we saw the mobility. I love the play call of Sam Darnold and that run right before the half to put them in position to get the field goal, to put them ahead walking into halftime. There were so many things about it I loved. At the same time, if you were a Sam Darnold critic and you were worried that he is going to see ghosts, as he so infamously said years ago, then the evidence was right there in the last minute of the fourth quarter when the game was on the line and he had a ghost literally in the form of number 97 for the San Francisco 49ers, hit him in the back and knocked that football out. So that's why I say, man, I wish I could come up with something a little bit more articulate, but I thought that he had the opportunity here to become Yosemite Sam Darnold and absolutely be just guns blazing, be the guy for the Seahawks. And instead, it feels like, I hope that they come back better against Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road a week from now.
Chris, what do you think of Sam Darnold's play today?
So I completely disagree with Rob. I wouldn't go meh. I would go no. I was going to say meh, and I'm a little mad that he stole that from me. But there were some good throws. I think that first throw was one of my favorite, like probably the favorite of the day, other than that long completion. By the way, so glad it wasn't 41 yards for reasons that Anders probably understands pretty well for a certain someone who he works with.
Yes.
41 yards. 41 yards. I thought he struggled getting off his top receiver today. And while some of that I think has to do with the fact that his top receiver was the only guy he trusted to throw the football to.
Kind of the only guy that was open too.
And that's the thing too, is like, you have to check out the all 22, but like, you just didn't see that second read, that ability to be like, okay, 1A is not open. I got to go to 1B. I got to scan to 1C. It just didn't seem to happen very often. And there's a couple of big misses. In particular, I brought it up. You are driving the football down and you end up kicking that field goal to take the lead before the half. JSN absolutely burns. I believe it was Green. It could have been the rookie cornerback who the Seahawks really were trying to pick on a lot. And an up and out, and that's a throw that you got to make because that's a walk-in touchdown if he makes that throw. Absolute walk-in touchdown. And I thought Olsen brought it up, and it was the exact same thought that I had. He's just a little early on that. And I think that he just doesn't have – there's a lot of talk about how Darnold said all the right things, and I don't even think he's like misrepresenting it, but like the connection he has with all these receivers – I didn't see that. I saw the connection with one receiver for sure. I didn't see it at all. And again, we'll have to look at the 22. I won't look at the 22. I don't have to do that. That sounds really boring. Rob, you have a good time with it. Thank you so much.
That's Corbin's thing.
Yeah, Corbin can do it too. That's great.
Yeah,
I will be looking at 22 minutes of a Seinfeld episode while they're looking at 22 footage. But it's it was very obvious that he was not able to get off of that first read to me and get that ball to the second, third guy. Maybe some of that has to do with design, maybe some extra guys blocking. I would have to see how often they had a tight end helping out in those situations. How many routes of only 3 compared to 4 or 5? Sam Darnold has to play better. There were some good moments. The athleticism is obvious with Sam Darnold. One of my favorite plays, by the way, in that same drive where they take the timeout, the 49ers, and, they had everything set to protect. I love that play call to design just Sam Darnold to get wheels out and get as far as he can to make that field goal. And at the time, that was
QB draw.
Yeah,
how about that?
It was like a QB draw power combination because he had a bunch of offensive linemen in front there. I love that play call. And you saw the athleticism and the smarts to get out at the exact right moment in that situation. that was nice. The athleticism, the talent, all of that is there. I need to see Sam Darnold do a better job checking down or just getting to a different receiver, because it wasn't a case of where he was just pressured like crazy, guys. It wasn't like, he's got to get rid of this football really quickly. He had time to throw the football. He had time to make those adjustments. How much of it is Sam Darnold not getting there? How much of it is the receivers just not being open? That's something that we'll have to discuss. I'm sure Rob and Corbin will do an excellent job breaking that down in the coming days.
I just love this comment. Jaleel, if we passed more, we would have won. I'm not saying you're wrong, Jaleel, but it's just funny because I remember so many games last year where people were asking for more run. And as soon as you switch to a more run-heavy offense, everyone's asking for more pass. It's the reality of an offensive coordinator in the NFL. If you don't get results, like this is what's going to happen. You're just going to get ridiculed, and you're the reason why you lost the game. See, this is what I think about Sam Darnold. I agree with everything you guys said. Pretty meh. Like, he didn't really make plays like I needed him to today. Like, we talked about how this offense is going to be built off of running the football, which they didn't do effectively today, by the way. But eventually you're going to need him to make a few plays for the Seahawks to win games. And that is exactly what you needed him to do today. And unfortunately, he just wasn't able to in the few opportunities that he was given. At the same time, I don't think Brock Purdy outplayed him. No. I think you're talking at the very worst an even performance. I don't know, Rob Rang, do you disagree with that?
Well, I definitely think that Brock Purdy threw a couple of balls in the coverage that obviously got intercepted by the Seahawks. But I thought those were spectacular plays by Seattle. High pointing passes by Josh Jobe and Ernest Jones that really made some plays. And again, I think that you got to give the 49ers some credit, and just acknowledge the fact that they're dealing with some injuries. Brandon Ayuk isn't on the field. George Kittle, of course, unexpectedly wasn't on the field, and yet they still kept calling their plays, and Brock Purdy still kept giving his guys opportunity to make plays. I would have liked to have seen Sam Darnold just have that same type of a gunslinger mentality. Like, damn it, I got to throw the ball to Cooper Kupp. I don't care if he's not traditionally open. Let's do the best that we can to give him this opportunity. So that was disappointing to me. And I thought that, to me, Brock Purdy was, look, I don't want to say he was the best player on the field because I didn't think that he was dynamic, but I thought that the better quarterback won, and that's often the case in the NFL.
Okay. Turbo joins us from the car. What's up, man? How are you?
What it do, fellas? Sorry about that.
All good, man.
It's all good.
I'm
glad to see some smiles on our faces after what we just witnessed.
Yeah, it's too many smiles. What was your take on this game? What do you think?
I thought we were soft, man. I just thought we were soft up front, offensive line. That's what it comes down to me. I think the loss is pretty embarrassing when you take into account all the people that were out for the 49ers, and yet they were still able to make more plays than us. And so that's disappointing. But when you look at the trenches, which you guys talk about a bunch, we were soft on the O-line. We couldn't move anybody. Like, we talk about not being able to get the run game going, but we couldn't move anybody. Yeah. And so that was really the one thing that stuck out to me.
Yeah. Do you think the play calling was too conservative? We've been talking about, it seemed a little predictable today. Kind of first game of the season, lots of different pieces on the offense with the OC, new quarterback, a couple new pieces on the O-line, a couple new receivers. It just didn't seem like they took a ton of chances. What do you think about that, Turbo?
That's a good point. I think that's a good observation. A lot of teams, when early in the season, especially when there's a lot of newness, new offensive coordinator, new personnel, you'll start the season relatively vanilla, especially if you're playing a team within your division, because you don't want to put too much on tape too early in the season, especially when you're playing a division rival. Yeah. So typically, like if you watch Green Bay and Detroit today, like Detroit, very vanilla, really on both sides, because they know they got to see each other again. So I think that's a good observation. But I thought it was purposeful to try to save some things for later on in the season.
Okay. I like that. We're going to take a quick break, but Turbo, I want to get your thoughts on the running game because I think everyone has been excited about that this team is now built on the running game moving forward. Kenneth Walker struggled today. Charbonnet was okay, gets the touchdown, still didn't have any breakout plays, and it definitely limited the offense for what they wanted to do. So I'm going to get you and Chris's and Rob's thoughts on the running game on the other side of the break here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now by using my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Turbo, did you make sure to use the promo code TOUCHDOWN before you filled up, before you headed out?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. If you're already buying gas, might as well get 25 cents per gallon back, right?
That's exactly. And I'm always going to be buying gas.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point of Upside, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Seahawks lose this one 17-13. Pretty disappointing first week of the season at home against the 49ers, a depleted 49ers team. George Kittle goes out after the first series. Juwan Jennings goes out. Trent Williams looked banged up. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
The Seahawks still can't get the job done, losing this one 17-13. Turbo, before we get into the running game, I just want to follow up one quick thing on you. If you were to point into one, moment or aspect of this game as to reason the Seahawks lost, what would you point to today?
The line of scrimmage. The line of scrimmage on offense. That to me, that's where we lost the game. Because we couldn't control the game, because we couldn't be efficient on the ground, and we couldn't be efficient on the ground because we couldn't move people, and we couldn't move people because we're soft. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And then the 49ers then are able to, if you're going to keep a depleted team like the Niners, and allow them to stay in the game, and then allow them to believe they're going to win. They're a winning football team. They're going to win. So you're going to get beat by Ricky Pearsall on big plays. That was disappointing to see.
Sure.
If I'm a corner, if I'm a DB, I'm locking this man. What?
Yeah.
He's been injured all last season. He's coming out to my house.
Yeah.
That's just, man, the mentality. I'm locking this man up.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was the line of scrimmage offensively.
Yeah. Let's kind of take it a step further and talk about the running game because, we talked about Sam Darnold, his play today. While he didn't lose you the game, he didn't necessarily go and win you the game either. You needed your running game to be efficient today. Chris Crawford, what was your evaluation of, not just Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet, but, the holes that were given to them, the play calling, and just the effectiveness of running the football against the Niners team, who I feel like you should have been able to do that against.
Anthony Bradford's a problem. It's a problem, man. Like, that guy can't be a starting guard for a team that's going to run the football the way that they do, man. I was really disappointed in that. Like, they just didn't open up those holes and that's why Charbonnet's probably going to have to outtouch Kenneth Walker for a while because he is more of that north-south runner right now, right? Like, he is that guy who, even though a lot of stuff's going to get blown up in the backfield, he is that guy that's going to plod ahead for 2 to 3 yards. And plod, obviously, is the mean way to say it, but he's going to fight for that extra yards. Yeah. And I'm not saying Kenneth Walker is going to go down. He just doesn't have the same type of north-south ability, in my opinion, that Charbonnet does. Speaking of the running game, something that we have to talk about. The decision to kick the field goal to go up 13-10, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. It's 4th and 1. And I thought, again, Greg Olsen made a great point here. Trusting your defense isn't just about like saying we can protect a 3-point lead. It's also saying we can go score a touchdown here. And if we don't get it, I have confidence in my defense to go get us the football back there. I hated that decision to kick the field goal there. I don't know about you guys. I'd be really curious your thoughts.
Rob, what do you think? Do you think that was the right decision to kick the field goal? 4th and 1. I think it's a 10-10 game at that point.
Yeah, it is a 10-10 game, and I think that it's hard to say that's the right decision. Obviously, you lost the football game. I'm always in favor of going ahead when you are going up against an opponent who has had problems with their own kicking game. And obviously, Jake Moody had missed a kick. He had another one blocked. I thought that it was important to get that lead. But again, we've all discussed this ad nauseum throughout the offseason, gentlemen, that this is a team that kind of prides itself on being able to control the line of scrimmage, as Turbo was talking about. This is your opportunity. It's right here in front of you. Are you going to be that team that will do that type of a thing, or are you just going to talk about it? So if you want to be that type of a team, then the kind of machismo in me says, damn it, let's just line up. Let's get our fullback, Robbie Oots, who we didn't see him in this play. No. I mean, there's a reason why his name starts with the O, because that's how many plays that he made in this game. You know, it's like, this is your opportunity. Run the ball behind him, do a play action pass, and throw the ball to Robbie Oots. But damn it, be aggressive rather than, just kicking the field goal and playing defense, to Chris's point a moment ago.
Yeah, Turbo, I was going to bring that up. I'm glad Rob did. It seemed like, where was the fullback today? I thought this was supposed to be a new portion of this offense.
Sometimes you just overthink it as a coach. You go into it, you know what I'm saying, Rob? Sometimes you just overthink yourself. Sometimes you try to out-game plan yourself instead of just doing what you do. Just be who you are. You want to be a team that runs, 21 personnel with a fullback? Do it. Just do it. You have a system that you've implemented, so run it. You don't always have to adjust based off what the 49ers or what you think the 49ers are going to do. We didn't move the pocket very much today either.
No.
Man, you got to get Sam Darnold on the move.
Yeah, I agree.
He's not the type of guy that's going to be sitting in the pocket down in and down out. He gets uncomfortable. We saw it today.
Yeah.
Gets happy feet.
Yeah.
So, I just think that sometimes you outcoach yourself by overthinking, trying to game plan what the defense is doing.
Yeah, completely agree. Chris, I don't know if you caught that, but when Rob was in his answer, talked about just there was no Robbie Oots today. Were you surprised that there was very little fullback play?
Yeah, I was disappointed in that too, because they sure could have used that extra push, right? And then the other thing there is, you saw Kyle Juszczyk, how effective he can be as a receiver. Limited, but, you saw. And I'm not asking Robbie Hughes to be as good as Kyle Juszczyk, by the way. I'm just saying that it would be nice to gain that extra push, that extra something to pay attention to as well. That extra, as Turbo brought it up perfectly, some extra eyes for that backfield as well as what with that fullback. I was really disappointed in a lot of the game plan today. It's easy to blame coaches sometimes when stuff like this happens, but they looked underprepared. They didn't look like the team that was the more prepared football team, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, Turbo, before we get out of here, I want to get your thoughts. I asked these two guys on what their thoughts on Sam Darnold was today in his first game as a Seahawk. How would you evaluate his performance today?
Unsettling. He just felt unsettled, throughout the game, uncomfortable in some spots. And, I'll admit, like his playmakers didn't help him, but, he was very inaccurate today, in my opinion. A lot of throws sailed or, outside of the stretched arms of a target and that was in large part because to the second half, and I don't know, our offensive line was getting overwhelmed by the defensive line of rookies and new players for the 49ers. So this offense cannot be centered around Sam Darnold. We've talked about that. If it's going to have to be on his shoulders, what happened today is going to be the result of a lot of games. So until, the Seahawks can establish Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet, and get these wide receivers going, it's going to be a long season.
Yeah.
All right. We've kind of talked about it, but looking forward to the next couple of weeks, you got a tough one on the road. You got the Steelers who won week 1. Aaron Rodgers looks good. DK Metcalf's going to want to prove his old team wrong coming week 2. What needs to change, Chris Crawford, moving into next week?
I think you've just got to show more urgency. I want to see that urgency, right? I want to see, I'm fine with the ground and pound like we were talking about. I'm fine with being much more run heavy, but I want to see more urgency. And I think that you will see that. This team does not want to start 0-2. This team does not want to be playing behind the 8 ball for the majority of this season. You can't afford it. Even as pillow fighty of this division, I think it might be. I just don't think anyone in this division is all that great. I watched, the Cardinals today beat up on one of the worst rosters in the NFL by all of 7 points. And you saw the Rams needed a huge play at the very end against a not great Texans team to win that game. You are the only team in the division that doesn't win. That's worth pointing out.
Yep.
You can't go to 0-2. You can't fall behind this thing. Winning the division is important. Getting in and having some home games to play matters. I want to see more urgency.
Yeah. Rob, what do you think? What needs to change come week 2?
Yeah, I think that there's just got to, it's obviously a simple statement, but I think you just got to create more big plays. And that's what's exciting to me is watching the Steelers and the Jets. I mean, that was one of the more entertaining games I saw in week 1 of the NFL season. I mean, it was big play after big play, both for the Steelers and for the New York Jets. So I do think that there is a chance with all due respect to Pittsburgh Steelers and, their reputation for playing such great defense. They gave up some haymakers.
Sure did.
And so I do think if there is an opportunity to get right, as crazy as it sounds, on the road, but by Seattle trying to run the football, but also sprinkling in some of the play action passing, getting their tight ends involved. So I am encouraged by some of the things I saw in this loss to the 49ers. And I do think, as Chris pointed out, you don't want to go 0-2. So I think there's going to be a level of desperation now from the Seahawks that we didn't see in week 1. I thought the Seahawks actually entered this game a little bit overconfident.
Yeah,
as crazy as that might sound.
I agree.
And I think that there is going to be a little bit more nastiness in the play calling this time around.
Yeah, I second that, because to me it wasn't as much of a we don't believe in what we're doing and we're getting away from it. I think it was almost the opposite. They believed too much in it and it was just what we're doing is going to work. We're going to be fine. Sure. And I think that centers around the lack of urgency that you were saying, Chris Crawford. It was I know we'll be fine. You missed a couple plays here. What we're doing is going to end up winning the game. And on some level, I do like that. But you've got to have the killer instinct to kill the game off as well and make the plays when they absolutely need to be made.
And when things go bad, you got to make that adjustment, right?
Yes.
And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to is when that game plan didn't work, and it didn't work, especially offensively. It just didn't. You scored a touchdown and kicked 2 field goals, and you had chances. You had chances to score points in this game. Anytime you get the football, you have a chance to score. But you guys know what I mean there. Yeah. There was just no adjustment. I didn't see that, okay, this is what they're taking away from us, so this opens up this, and we can go to plan B. Plan B just didn't seem to be a real thing. And I understand, I think Turbo bringing up the fact that you don't want to, give the whole kitchen sink away, that's fair. But it's a division opponent. It is... You haven't won a game against a division opponent in a long time at home. A long time. That's 4 straight division opponent losses at home, which just shouldn't happen.
No.
I'm willing to give some stuff away to make sure you win that gosh damn football game. So they have just got to show more urgency and a better job of making those adjustments in the second half against Pittsburgh, because this should be a really interesting game.
Yeah, I second that. We talk about it in our baseball podcasts all the time, Chris. You can't manage the game for 3 games ahead. You play to win the game that you're playing right now, right? And that's a stat. That's crazy, man. 1-6 against Purdy. The 1 win coming last year in San Francisco. That's right. With Geno Smith. So I don't know, man. I really hope that Mike McDonald has some adjustments up his sleeve, because I think, I'm not saying that this team isn't built to do good things this year. I still believe in what they're doing overall, but you need to be able to adjust throughout the season. This is as good of a time as any, I guess, after week 1 to figure it out, right? Go into week 2 and be ready to go against a seemingly good Steelers team after week 1. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Hey, guys, really appreciate you hanging out today. Chris Crawford, Rob Rang, you guys are the experts. I lean on you guys big time. Turbo, thanks for stopping in. If you're listening, really appreciate it. And thank you all for listening in the comments section, or even if you're on the go using us as your post-game show. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Like the video if you haven't already, or if you're on the go, please continue to go where you're going, and then like the video when you're done, because we like people to be safe here. Don't look at your phone while you're driving. But really appreciate everyone here. Any last word, Chris Crawford? I'll start with you.
Boy, I'll give you just one. 49er fans, you love to show up, don't you? Because we got a lot of them in the chat today.
Hey, you know what? I respect it. Drink tears when it's there.
Too. Yeah, I respect it too. And Seahawk fans, when we win in San Francisco in
better believe it
2 months or whatever, make sure you show up as well. But
yep.
I appreciate a little bit of trash talking. It's a lot of fun.
I love how you're supporting us and not Locked On 49ers. So
yeah, there you go. Thank you.
That gives us more views. Rob Rang, what's your last word today?
Last word is just it's week 1. You know, you guys obviously do a great job on the Locked On Mariners podcast. And, for those of you who do watch and support the Seattle Mariners, you know how bad it's been for the last couple of weeks. Yep. And yet these last couple of days have been absolutely spectacular. Exactly. It's been explosive and an awful lot of fun. That's how quickly the season can turn around. It's on the Seahawks now to do exactly that.
All right. I really appreciate that. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys next time. New episode of this Locked On Seahawks will come your way on Monday. And then you'll get another Seahawks squad show at some point next week as well before week 2 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk to you guys then. Have a